One and all, as we celebrate the magic of women in cinema at our Film Coven. We're your hosts, Kelli Mehan
and Melissa Woody, and today we are inducting the cast of A League of Their Own. I am super excited for this one, Kelli. I mean, look at us with our matching outfits.
Batter up. If I had any inkling of musical talent, I'd be able to sing that a little bit. Oh, shit, on ukulele. Never mind, next time.
Missed opportunity.
How excited are you to do A League of Their Own?
I am pumped because this is like a forgotten part of history, I feel, that I kind of learned through this movie. I don't know if that was your experience or not, but it's really a wonderful fictionalized story with the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. It's a bit wordy, but I'm excited that we're talking about it today.
I have extremely particular memories about this one. So I haven't been feeling super great lately, and we're talking about the scheduling, and I'm like, I just want something warm and cozy, and this movie's it. This movie gives me all the feelings. Like, it gives me the sad, it gives me the happy, it gives me the humor. It is just a complete package of a film. And I remember being 9 years old, and this came on Channel 7, like one of our 3 channels we had at night one time, heating up rice pudding out of a container, getting a bowl and watching this movie. And that's the first time I watched it, just enjoying it so much. I've always been someone who really loves like a time period, and especially if it's between the 20s to 50s, like anything around this era I really enjoy. It's a World War II pick that's not a World War II pick. Like, you're seeing the other side of it. You're seeing the people who stayed at home and made a life of it all. But I love anything in that vintage retro era. Like, people that speak like John Lovett's character. Like, that's what I love. It's fantastic.
Tryouts, play.
Yeah, I came to this one way later in life. This is actually only the second time I've seen the movie, which is like, I don't know, it's one of those things where like I really wish I grew up with this one, because yeah, this one is just so cozy and comfy, and I feel like nostalgic for it, even though I've only watched it 2 times. Which I think is something about the film. I think this is a very like powerful, yeah, like you had said, like very heartwarming, heartfelt movie. Who are our main players? Who's up to bat, Kelli?
The Queen of Diamonds. We've got to talk about Gina Davis as Dorothy Dottie Hanson. This is probably the first Gina Davis movie I reckon I would have watched at the time. But then we knew her more for the 90s sort of roles. I'm thinking more like Stuart Little, and like more like mum sort of roles is what I know Gina Davis for. So like, I really love her in this role. I love the character of Dottie and her dynamic with her younger sister Kit, played by Laurie Petty. I think you got to talk about them in the same breath, and that would piss Kit off to no end, I'm sure. But you do, because really they are the heart and soul and the main focus of the movie. It gives me very Frozen before Frozen, like very Elsa, older sister, cool, calm, collected, Kit, younger sister, a bit more impetuous, a bit more want to be out there. And then it's the heart, the crux of the movie is their sisterly bond, and I love to say that.
I mean, Dottie is an Amazon goddess. Like Gina Davis, when she like is just on screen, she definitely is a like screen stealer. Like she commands that attention, and I love this character. Like, she's just, I will say maybe a criticism is she's almost too perfect, because she doesn't have a lot of flaws. Like, she's pretty great at everything and very beautiful inside and out. Kit, I like the kind of the opposing, that Kit's like smaller in stature and maybe not as like glamorous, and definitely in the shadow of her sister, but I think they play off each other really well in the film. Doris, played by Rosie O'Donnell, and I would say probably the next lead would be May, played by Madonna, and they're kind of a duo.
What like an unconventional friendship that just works so well. I love when you see these types of friendships on screen, because they're just fire, and you can tell that these girls really do care for each other, which is what I like as well. It's not just like a friendship built out of necessity. It's like, she was the dancer, I was the bouncer.
She was one of the dancers, I was the bouncer.
I love that line. Like, Rosie O'Donnell is so funny in this movie. And I got to give it up for Madonna. Like, I wouldn't have thought much of her as an actress, but in this movie, I really enjoy her. She gets this character of May. There's only just one scene where it's like, okay, slightly too much, but that's okay. But I love their funny friendship together, and they're like sort of they're not the bitchy girls, but like they're snarky, shady girls. They're the Heathers, like, of the team, that sort of thing. And I think you need it, especially in this time period, to bring a lot more of the light and the humor, because Dottie and Kit are very serious. Dottie, not to steal a bit from Seinfeld, but when I was watching it, like, she has grace. You either have it or you don't. Dottie has grace. That's what it's about.
Doris is definitely more of that tough, wisecracking kind of energy, and just lives and breathes baseball. Like, you can just tell how much she's like very passionate about this game. And then I feel like Madonna's character definitely has like this sexual energy. And I feel like she very much has these kind of stereotypical like masculine qualities to her. And I really like kind of that being shown in this movie. We start the film, it's like a book ending type of film. So we start at the end. We start with an older Dottie getting ready to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, because the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, there's an exhibit that's popping up. And so she's getting ready to go to that. I think it's very funny that the choice was to have Gina Davis voice dubbed.
I'm not comfortable about this.
Whether it's me just being like, because I'm not a critic, like, these are just, anytime we're on here, like, these are just my opinions. I'm not the most observant of people. I'm like, did they put Gina Davis in old lady makeup or what? Because that voice was spot on. And I'm like, but how? And then I clicked on, I'm like, okay, she's just dubbed over all the lines, because that voice was the exact voice. I'm like, there's just no way. The lady, she was stunning, and she did look like the height, the frame, everything was exactly the same. So no, it was good. For me, this opening scene is more about, and I don't have it on, flash it here, please. Yes. Because it just gave me very early 90s. It's that vibe, like it must have been love sort of thing. Oh, I think the Madonna song at the end is something like we're playing in the playground. Like, it's all that really nostalgic, remember that. And so I'm watching this and the credits start rolling and Dottie's on the bus and I'm like, no, this is a tea and biscuits moment. So like I paused the movie and just ran and made myself like tea, cracked open like some chocolate chip cookies, and I'm like, now I'm settled. Because that's what it gave me. It gave me very like feeling warm and cozy and just ready to settle in and watch this story. And it just started then as getting back into our flashbacks. Melissa, do you like these sorts of storytelling devices of like a bookend to a flashback, like that sort of trope?
I enjoy it because it's like, okay, how did our character kind of get to where they're at type of thing. So I like that this movie is very much like told in a flashback essentially, and the journey through, it's mostly through Dottie and Kit's kind of perspective, but kind of all of these women in this league. It does this like transition into kind of flashbacks, and it gives us a lot of kind of exposition. And I think it's smart because the movie is already fairly long. So I think that kind of helps give us information of kind of what's going on.
They know it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out at the old ball game.
The old ball game, at least the way they played it in the early 1940s, was different. Different because back then a woman's place was at home. It was also at first, at second, and at third. These women are members of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. They played throughout the country from 1943 to 1954. This is a story about the old ball game, their ball game, and the way they played it during a recent weekend reunion of the league in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was there that a group of veteran ball players from Southern California joined more than 100 of their teammates from across the United States and Canada. They gathered to swap stories, trade secrets, renew friendships, picnic, party, and of course, play ball.
Gonna take a sentimental journey to renew.
Who says girls can't play baseball? Who says women can't throw? Give them a league of their own to play, then stand down and get out of their way.
Girls playing pro ball? You bet. Back in 1943, when the boys went off to war, baseball and chewing gum tycoon Bill Wrigley decided to keep the parks filled by creating the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Even though the league lasted for 12 seasons, very few people know about it.
Rolling.
Now, director Penny Marshall brings us the long overdue story of these remarkable girls of summer in Columbia Pictures' new comedy, A League of Their Own.
We basically kick off the movie with this flashback to the 1940s, and we see Kit and Dottie on the baseball field. And the women are playing baseball because all the men are overseas fighting in World War II. Most people have been drafted or choosing to fight for their country. So we just see them in their little farm. They're playing for their dairy, very regional baseball, not much of a crowd, but John Lovitz is there. Now, I know we're a show about ladies and stuff, but John Lovitz kills me in this role. Like, he adds so much humor, so much snarkiness. We see Kit go up to bat, strikes out. She can't lay off the high ones. The high ones are being thrown at her, and this is what we call a callback for later on, people. So pay attention to that one.
No high ones.
I like the high ones.
Mule.
Nag.
Dottie gets up after telling her to lay off the high ones, and that's where we start to see that big sister, little sister dynamic. Dottie thinks she knows everything. Kit wants to prove herself. We already see it straight away in this establishing flashback. Dottie goes up effortlessly, home run, everyone wins the day. So impressive. John Lovett's eyes light up. So he seeks them out at their dairy. They're working. They're the milkmaids. Like, it's great. He wants Dottie. She doesn't want to go. She's married. Her husband's away. What's the point? Kit desperately wants to play. John Lovett strikes up the deal that if Dottie comes, Kit can come.
I think it really establishes the dynamic between the two, that Kit loves this game and is trying so hard to be successful at it, but does have to put in this extra effort, versus Dottie's character, very naturally kind of gifted with this, and it very much was giving me the Craft vibes in regards to like how Sarah was very like that natural witch, and Nancy like desperately wanted to be this powerful and great witch, but definitely had to put some extra effort to get there. And I was definitely thinking of The Craft a lot, which I know is weird for, a baseball movie in the 1940s, but, here we are. But no, I think it really establishes kind of their dynamic with each other. I appreciate that Dottie basically was like going to do this because of the love of her sister. She doesn't really want to join the league and go try out, but like she is willing to do it because she knows how much it means to her sister. So she's like, okay, I'll go. I think that's very true to like an older sister kind of role. Sometimes you just kind of make those sacrifices for your siblings just because that they love that, or whatever the scenario is.
I could not put my finger on it. I'm like, as you're saying about how some people are just born with it and some people have to try, I'm like, I know we've had this conversation, I could not remember when, that it's just one of those unfortunate universal life truths that some people are just more naturally talented at things, and other people, no matter how much effort they put in, no matter how much study they put in, you just might not get there. Like, not everyone's going to be a star, not everyone has the X factor, and it sucks, but it's just truth. It's just life. I like how you also say about the big sister, little sister, because like I'm an only child, so this movie I think is like how most sisterly relationships sort of play out. Like, it seems very, very true, and so I'm along for the ride with the sisters.
So then we travel to Fort Collins, Colorado, which that just like warms my heart because I live like 20 minutes away. So like that feels like very hometown for me, to meet Marla as they kind of continue on to hopefully try out for this baseball league. So we get introduced to Marla, and she's definitely more, a tomboy, maybe doesn't have the look that the league is looking for, but she's very talented.
This whole scene is a little bit what the movie's about for me. This is one of those ones that definitely sticks out in my brain. What it's all about is that this particular scene has the heartfelt, the humor, the women supporting women. Like, it's just got everything in it. Marla's obviously so talented. The dad says, like, if she were a boy, she'd be playing in the major leagues. But it's really sad that she doesn't, as you sort of said, have the look that the scout is looking for. And so what I love is Dottie and Kit are like, why are you taking her? She's amazing. And the kid in that very younger sister fashion, you mean you're not taking her because she ain't pretty? Like, and so as soon as John Lovitz says that, suitcase is down. Like, we're not leaving without her. She is too talented. So I love that you see that women supporting women already. The part that kills me is when the dad goes up to speak to John Lovitz. And he says, her mum died very young. I've just raised her the best I can. I've raised her like I would a boy. Don't punish her for my shortcomings. And Melissa, I'm just like, I'm tearing. I'm absolutely tearing under my glasses. But then afterwards you get that train scene of the dad and the daughter saying goodbye, and that's just pulling at my heartstrings even more. And John Lovitz is like, I'm just too nice. Like, he starts making all these wisecracks. So I think Penny Marshall and the scriptwriters have a really deft hand at giving you the emotional beats followed up by a zinger, so you're not dwelling in anything too much. But at the same time, nothing's being made too light of.
Being somebody who was majority like raised by their dad, yeah, like this was definitely tugging at my heartstrings. It's interesting because there's this weird balance of like these really heartfelt, tender moments, but then there are these very funny comedic moments, and I do think there's a really good balance there because I don't find myself like sobbing throughout, but you know, there's little moments where I get a little teary-eyed, and then when we get to the end, you know, I feel a lot of emotion there. But yeah, no, I think this was a great intro to Marla, and I love that the girls protest like, we're not going unless she's going, and it's, you know, they're strangers, and I just love that theme that's kind of carried throughout, that women are supporting women. This is definitely highlighted in this scene here. We go to Harvey Field in Chicago for the tryout kind of segment. Now, this movie is filled with a lot of montages. Is that something that you enjoy in regards to the storytelling? And then how did you take this tryout scene?
I love a montage. Even Rocky had a montage. Absolutely. I think a montage is always a great way of just being able to see a lot of different characters, quick moments, so that you've got your eye on characters like May. You've got your eyes on characters like Betty Spaghetti, Ellen May. I think she's the Miss Georgia. Like it's a good way to just get a good look at it all. And sports and training montages, it just goes hand in hand. It gets the job done. It's fast paced. It keeps you into it. I really enjoy seeing it all. And we get to see our characters like Dottie being able to excel at what she's doing, even Kit's like pitching well, because we didn't get to see her pitch at the start. She was batting. It wasn't until John Lovitz grabbed her arm like, there might be something there. And then she gets that praise from the coach there. So I like that you seeing Kit being able to succeed in this moment as well. I think it's really important. So we're not just always like, oh, she's just like the kid sister being dragged along. Like, no, she's holding her own. She's really good and is part of the league. How do you find the tryout scene?
Yeah, no, I love it. I will say, like, I'm not a big sports person, so like it's very interesting that like I really love this movie. It's great, and I like the montage scenes, like you're saying. I think we get a lot of little moments with the different characters kind of through the montage, and I find it very entertaining, and I really like the music kind of throughout the movie, but it's very like warm and fun. I think it's great, and we get to meet May and Doris kind of during this scene. Fun fact about me, I was a weird kid. I had this weird obsession with Rosie O'Donnell as a kid. I watched the Rosie O'Donnell talk show as like a very young child. I had a Rosie O'Donnell Barbie. I had a Rosie O'Donnell like doll. I was like really into her for some reason, kind of during this time period. So it's very weird that like I did
this one.
I have no idea why, but I watched her talk show.
You had the orange VHS, the Parrot, the Spy.
Yes.
You had that? Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. So we get introduced to Doris and May also during this scene, and I think they have great chemistry, and and they definitely add that comedic aspect to their character and into the story.
Well, you got to talk about the scene where Rosie O'Donnell throws that ball at Gina Davis, and you just hear crack, face, turn, this. Hey, I was watching it this time, and for ages, you know, my favorite It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode is Charlie McDennis. And so I could never remember when Dennis gets the dart in his hand on the board, and it's But never remember what that reminds me of. It's this moment where Dottie just catches the ball, straight face, like just queen bitch sort of shit right there. I love it. And then, yeah, Rosie O'Donnell's like, some of you guys are going to have to go home, because it's that very New York attitude, like, we're the best. And then after that moment, it's like, no, here's the hierarchy here. And it really does put in that Dottie is someone not to be messed with, that John Lovett says she's the goods. And she is, and she shows it throughout the whole film. She's just the goods.
I'm sorry, but that scene is just sexy. Are you kidding me? She just catches it so perfectly like that. And she looks gorgeous. I'm sorry, just like throughout this entire movie, she just is glowing, and then she just like catches that ball like so perfectly. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Another scene that I really like, Shirley Baker. She is this character that she's illiterate, and she can't read which team she made it on or if she made the team. And so Helen comes up and helps her. Again, another moment of women helping women. And it's a very like, you know, small little scene, but like it again tugs at your heartstrings.
I'm really glad you brought it up. It was the next thing I was going to bring up as well, because I think it is an important one to highlight, because it's the little moments. It's whether it's intending to or not, or we're just reading into it because now we're just doing the show. It's a male coach yelling at a woman like, what are you doing? Get it together. And other women having empathy to come up and help and notice the problem. Because you're also thinking, if this is the 1940s, and you're talking like regional people, like it probably wouldn't have been uncommon for women maybe not to have the access to reading, even at this time period. So I really like that, as you sort of said, it's another women supporting women. It really shows the camaraderie of the time as well, because all the men are away and all these women are banding together. We got all the Rosie the Riveter stuff happening at the moment. They do touch on that a bit later. It's like, well, now you've done your job, Rosie, you know, get back in the kitchen. But at this point in time, it's all these women having to keep the country going. And I really enjoyed seeing this moment. I thought it was a good band together, nature-ish nurture moment.
I don't remember his name.
I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street. I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
The lead guy that's like heading this league, he tells all the women that they have to go to charm and beauty school, and that no drinking and no men, which I really love when he says that one. Yeah, Madonna just is like, I'm out. But then, you know, Doris is like, no, come on, like you know you want to do this. So then we kind of transition to from the field into dresses into this charm and beauty school.
That's kind of like a supplement for our makeover scene, I guess, in a sense. What's really interesting, and what I like what this film is saying, is that women in sports is still something really stigmatized. Women aren't to be dirty. Women aren't to get down in the mud and to have fun. And that just goes against any kind of sport, really. Like you're there to sweat it out, to get messy and things like that. So they knew they were promoting an image, in the Ira Goldstein, like this is what you're wearing, and all the girls like, I can't slide in that, like I can't play in that, I've got to squat in that, like in a short dress, as much as we love it as costume. Practically, like I can't go outside and start playing baseball or softball or anything in this. So it is interesting, this scene of making the girls go to charm and beauty school, because they realize that at the end of the day, this is a product. The women's baseball is a product, and they need to be presenting it a certain way. So on one hand, I'm like, well, it's also great because you're affording people an opportunity that they might not ever have gotten before to play sport, to do these sorts of classes, like to maybe feel that sense of self-improvement if that's what they wish. But on the other hand, is it kind of sexist? Like it brought up a lot. It brought up a lot of questions that I have now.
At the end of the day, there is definitely this societal pressure on women to appear a particular way, even still. Definitely back then, I think he even says, like, you know, all the women in this league are gonna be ladies. The fact of the matter is, we're not all ladies, and that's okay. So it's just I feel like reinforces kind of what time period we are in. Yeah, it is kind of a crazy expectation to like wear your hair down, wear a skirt while playing, a very active sport.
The people who made The Princess Diaries love A League of Their Own. And I'll tell you why. It's this scene right here. This scene is exactly, nearly very, very, very similar to the makeover scene from Princess Diaries. Even to like, we don't cross our legs, your ankle behind, which actually taught me how to sit properly. So credit to that. How to sip tea, how to walk properly, I can see the DNA too much. Even when the lady's going through and picking up all the girls, she's like, eyebrows, there should be 2 of them.
The eyebrows thin and separate, there should be 2.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same thing that Paolo says to Princess Mia. So, I see the connection there, Princess Diaries and A League of Their Own.
I agree. And I think also some miscongeniality, too.
Eyebrows. There should be 2.
But it's been a while since I've seen either movie, but I think it's there. This is a show that highlights women, but a very important character kind of to this story is the coach of Jimmy Dugan.
But I can't think of this character without thinking, are you crying? There's no baseball.
There's no crying in baseball.
That's all I think of this character of Tom Hanks. But he's so much fun. Jimmy Dugan. So obviously he used to be a professional baseball player, maybe some sort of injury, I think they allude to, but basically became an alcoholic and his career was cut short. He sees it at first as very much a step down to be coaching women's baseball because he says over and over again, they're not ball players. So when we first meet Jimmy Dugan, very unlikable, extremely long piss.
Could be a record.
When he's in the change room.
Boy, that was some good peeing.
So even they get the stopwatch out and start timing it. So he just has wiped himself out. Is there Gary Marshall, as the owner, Mr. Harvey of the league, says, you just go out, you wave your little hat, and that's all you're there for, basically. You're there for fan service, because back in the day, all our baseball players on the baseball cards, very much like our superheroes of the time. So having him there is a big celebrity moment. He will not step up to the plate, sports puns, to be a coach. So there's no lineup, and everyone's like, well, who's playing what? Gina Davis, she's the one who's able to step up and be the coaching role. And that's what we were talking about earlier, where she's just got it. She's got the package. We said Amazon, that's all I can think now. But she's like the Wonder Woman of the team. Like, she's this Amazon goddess there to just sort that shit out and get them all together.
He is a pretty pathetic guy. You're kind of just like, okay, we're seeing all these rad, awesome ladies, and then here comes this kind of loser guy. Like, how is he going to fit into the picture of it all? I really do like the arc of his character. Yeah, it's definitely quite the introduction with that long, very long pee.
Hey, great to meet you.
So we kind of move into training montages and what have you. And there's this one specific one that's called the Diamond Gals montage. It's kind of black and white, and it highlights all the different ladies. I really liked this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I do feel really bad.
And how about Marla Hooch? What a hitter.
They don't really highlight her. They're just kind of like, yeah, she's here. And I'm just like, come on. Again, it's all about the look or whatever, which is frustrating. But I do find it to be a fun little montage, regardless of that point.
It's very cute because, as I sort of said, this is a product you needing to sell it. You need to draw the crowds in. So it's cute that her friends call her Betty Spaghetti and she's knitting in the outfield, and there's Dottie, she's watch out fellas, she's married, and there's her sister Kit.
Yeah, and her.
And the comedic punches is great for this montage. And as you sort of said, it's of the time. It's that newspaper voice. It's, His Girl Friday level of reporter speak, that sort of feel. But we find that people just aren't coming to the games. People are making fun of the girls. And so it isn't until we get to see some of the stunts that the girls start putting out there that draws in the crowd. And I love that it's Dottie to make the call. It's not it's like not influenced by anyone else. She just sees that the reporters are there, and she goes to catch the ball, and just this perfect split catch, photo op. I think just it's so smart of her. I love it. And then we see all the girls start to pull their little tricks and tips. I think May catches it in her hat. Dottie another time, catches it behind the back. It's just a bit of flair and a bit of showmanship, and just like, yeah, we're here. We can play just as good and have fun while doing it.
The scene of Dottie doing the splits catching is like
right.
The scene. Like it's so iconic at this point, and like it's just like, yes.
And Jimmy's just like, what the hell is that? And that's where we start to see him, come out and enjoy it a little bit more when he sees that, the girls are actually playing really well.
Yeah, and I love the little kind of show off between Dottie and Jimmy with like the sign off.
Yes.
Like that's just such a fun little scene. And again, like you're saying, that's kind of as he's starting to see that the girls are playing well and getting kind of that attention in the media, he's like, okay, I need to get my stuff together because maybe I can be successful. I think he's starting to believe in these girls for sure, in their kind of success in the league. A very different scene off the field. The girls go out on the town and they, I guess, break the rules because they definitely are drinking, and there are men around.
Like the City Roadhouse, there's like some military men that are like probably on leave. The band's playing. Madonna goes off in the scene. This dancing's great. I love any sort of like Lindy Bop, jitterbug, like bopping, moving, like anything of this time period always just looks so good. Anytime like you can like throw her around and like under the legs and everything and backflips, and it's just a lot of fun, and the girls are letting loose and having a fun time, and that's nice to see as well, because so far it's just been sports, game, serious. So to see that there's like that friendship there, because one thing I think Ira mentions is like how committed the girls are, is that they're on the bus all the time. They'll be traveling all night to play a doubleheader in the morning. So it's just nice that you get to see a funner, lighter side of it all. And we get to see, I'm going to cut to the end bit of it a little bit, but I just think it's so lovely. We get to see Marla up on stage as she's singing to this guy. She's found this guy. Dottie comes in. It's like, what did you do to her? We just gave her liquor and a dress. I'm like, like that. You need to let it happen. I just like that. So far, you've only heard negative things about her, but just that she can play good. So, like, I like that they gave that character some development, and then we don't see her very much after that because she goes off and gets married and gets a happy ending. And so I really love the Madonna dancing. I love that Rosie O'Donnell catches her, and we talked about, that female friendship before and like how authentic it is. That's why, and I think that's when you get the story about her being the bouncer and May being one of the dancers there. It's female friendship fun.
I love that Madonna, I feel like very much is like that symbol of more freedom as a woman. Is like she's just she's dancing and she's spinning around and she's having a great time. And then I love that she kind of like chugs that beer towards the end before they leave. And I kind of think it's like that guy's beer, and she's just like, I'm gonna drink it. And I love her attitude throughout that whole scene. And yeah, I love seeing Marla kind of cutting loose a bit, with her dress and getting drunk and singing. I think it Had to Be You. Very, very cute, fun, comedic scene for sure. As the league is becoming more successful, Dottie's definitely getting that spotlight on her. She's kind of the face of the league, and Kit is becoming like increasingly more jealous, and that sibling like rivalry is like definitely increasing between the two, which kind of leads into this big fight between the two of them, where Kit essentially tells Dottie that she's holding her back in her success in the league. And it's not a super long drawn out scene, but I do think it's really important to like their arc together.
It's so important because we've already seen flashes of it at the start of the movie. When they're at the dairy and they're walking home and Kit starts walking faster. It's like, what, you can't even let me walk faster? And Dottie's like, no. And then like can't help herself. They're just so competitive. Dottie is gracious, she's cool, calm, collected, except when it comes to Kit. Then you see like her more passionate moments, she gets more heated, And also she wants to play it off, but she's so competitive. She still, and Kit even calls her on. It's like, if you didn't want to come, why are you still here? Why do you have to be so good? I just love those sorts of moments there, because it really does make Dottie sort of like reflecting on herself. Because in the previous match, Kit's pitching and Jimmy calls to Dottie like, what would you do? Because at this point in time, they've really got a respect for each other, and they're almost co-managing the team. And you see him like sort of training you like how to spit, and they chat and stuff. And Dottie says she's throwing grapefruits, like, take her out of there. And that's really the catalyst for the rest of the movie, is that Kit sees it as a bit of a betrayal, like, you didn't have my back, I could have finished the game. But Dottie is just more a back from the scene, like, is trying to be objective about it, like, no, you were done, take it. So it's I guess that's hard when you're playing with your family members. It's like, where is the line there? Like, should Dottie have kept supporting her, or should Kit not be so sensitive about it? I don't know. Melissa, do you have any take on this scene? Like, is anyone in the right, or is it a middle ground? Like, you can see both sides of the point?
I can see both sides to it for sure. And I do think it's an interesting question that I kind of have, is like, I do wonder about Dottie in regards to like, it seems like she is truly enjoying playing, but I do kind of maybe side on Kit a little bit more, in the sense of like, if you don't really want to be here, then like, why are you here, type of thing. And I think that's kind of what happens, is she kind of takes that self-reflection of like, okay, yeah, like, what am I enjoying this? Like, do I want to be here? I think that kind of forces Dottie's character to like self-reflect a bit more, and like try to think like, is this something I want to keep pursuing or not? But I think ultimately Dottie is devoted to her husband. He is away during the war, and I think this was a great, distraction for her kind of during this time period, which actually really transitions well to the next scene. Somebody from like the military or the mail service comes with the telegram, and you're just, the way that it's like filmed too, it's a little heart-wrenching. Yeah, it's very like heart-wrenching, because it's like, okay, who is going to get the bad news right now? And especially it is a little focused on Dottie, so you're like thinking, oh, it's going to be, Dottie's husband that possibly has passed, but ends up being Betty Spaghetti. And it's a very, upsetting scene, because at the end of the day, a lot of these women are playing because their husbands or brothers or whoever are out in the war. And it kind of brings back to what is currently happening kind of as the backdrop of this film, which is World War II.
This scene is one of those ones that broke my heart as a kid, that, I really vividly remember having a hard time processing, and went to bed crying afterwards and thinking about it. Like sometimes when you just watch those sad moments as a kid, and then it's hard to like, you knew that scene was coming up, like, and I was very lucky. Alad walked in at that exact moment. So I'm like, you need to stay. So he stayed, and he held my hand, and yeah, I just cried behind my glass was just like went. Yeah, as you sort of said, it's the way it's filmed. It's filmed like a horror movie, because Tom Hanks is delivering this bad news, and you just see these girls around the locker room, and it's almost as if you're passing each person. You see the girls breathe a sigh of relief, but you're still on edge, because then you're feeling for someone else. So it's that mix of emotion, like, I'm glad it's not happening to me, but oh my God, it's happening to her, that sort of thing. And as you sort of said, they do fake you out, where you think it's going to be Dottie, but it's Betty next to her. And the wail this lady lets out is just gut-wrenching. It's an absolute gut punch. And I think Tom Hanks handles the scene really well as well, because by this point Jimmy has become a really pretty good manager to the girls, and is a great support system. And yeah, they just hug her and Mrs. Cuthbert, the chaperone, and escort her from the room. And I think it's, as you sort of said, a real big wake-up call to really what's been happening. It's been fun and games for now, but shit's really quite real, and it's happening to the girls. Dottie's husband comes home from the war, slightly injured, but they get this lovely romantic scene. She's packing up all her stuff, and he walks in, and he says something like, "You're just the prettiest girl I've ever seen." And because she's just like in her nightgown, she's like, "No, like I'm a mess."
I almost forgot how beautiful you are.
Oh no, I look terrible.
You look beautiful. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Like, it feels very normal husband wife sort of behavior, and it just, I thought it was so sweet. It's so, again, you get those sad moments, you get those sweet moments. It never lets you dwell in one emotion too much. It just really is a good balance.
Fun fact about me, I love Bill Pullman. He's definitely like one of those crushes I have. Like, I find him very attractive. So I loved seeing him. I kind of forgot that he was the husband. And I was like, oh, and yeah, it's a very cute moment. And I think he even says like, hi, cutie.
Hi, cutie.
Like when he walks in the door, and I'm just like, oh my God, stop it. And I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, they're pretty darn cute. Which transitions to Dottie telling Jimmy that she is not going to be going to, the World Series and is going to be going back home with her husband. And I think this is a really good scene between the two of them where, she's just like, it's gotten too hard. And he's like, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
It just got too hard.
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it.
And I think that is really true. Like, if you want to do something that like not everyone is doing, it's probably going to be a bit harder. And you have to put in that extra effort, even for somebody who, from the surface so far, we've always kind of seen her as this all has come really easy to her, very natural. But this is kind of her vulnerable moment of saying, like, it's getting too hard.
Tom Hanks delivers that really well, and it is true. And it's about a sacrifice for the things you want, or maybe just prioritizing things. So, her husband's just come home. Do you stick around and stick through something that you've already started, or do you go home because your husband just come back from war? So, you feel obligated for both things. So I think Dottie's in a hard place, but to say it got too hard, it does sound like a bit of a cop-out, and I'm a queen of quitting things. So I feel for Dottie in this moment. That is a hard choice to make. I don't know. I probably would have gone back to the dairy too. Like, it would have all been too much.
Go back home where it's comfy with the cute husband.
One part we did skip over before Bubba even comes back. So, Dottie, after that fight with Kit, freaking out. Mr. Goldstein walks in and she's like, I'm going home. No, you can't go home. Fine, then trade me to another team. Kit comes home the next day. They're in the house. Everyone's got their curlers in and their hair up. She ditches this baseball at the window and just goes, bitch.
You want to go with me? Bitch.
And I'm like, Kit's been traded to Racine. And that's just such a big part of the movie of what I remember as well, because then now you're pitting sisters against each other. What started as a team family dynamic, now it's sister versus sister going into the World Series.
I mean, I remember her getting traded, but like I don't super remember the scene, which I'm like, shoot, I need to rewatch it because I'm like, what? She says bitch? I don't remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, insert clip here.
You want to go with me? Bitch.
Yeah, please do. It's so, and all the girls are like, oh, cat fight, like it's going down, like, and so
I don't know why I'm not remembering this.
Because this is part of You Hold Me Back, like why you still
okay.
like, and this is all part of that sort of. This is the consequences of that. So it's all part of that shakedown scene. And so we see Kit go trade off to Racine. We see Dottie go back home, and so now it's the Peaches versus the Bells. They've made their way to the finals. Jimmy, everyone's getting excited, and Jimmy starts talking to the catcher, takes off the mask, Dottie's back. And I really like this interaction because Dottie just comes in like all classy and cool, like, yeah, I'm ready to play again and it's going to be great. And Jimmy gives very much that like X sort of feel of like, well, who said you can come back? Even though he really, really wants her to be there. Like, I just like the way they play it off where, like, he feels he can't lose face. Like, it's not her decision. Like, he's the manager. And she's like, well, if you don't want me to come back. Well, no, it's up to you. If you want to play. Okay, I'll play. And then he just goes, we're going to win. It's great.
You're going to win.
I love that dynamic between Jimmy and Dottie. And I think she even says, like, after kind of what you had just said, like, you look like shit.
You look like shit. Don't you ever shave?
I think is what she says to him, which I kind of love their, because I think they have a bit of a power dynamic, because like she really was that uncredited coach for like the first part of the season, because he was just checked out in, you know, being an alcoholic, and now he's rose to the occasion, and so he is now the coach and active on the team. And I just kind of love that they have that playful kind of energy with each other. But yeah, so the stakes are high. It's sister versus sister. So it's like which sister's gonna make it out on top. And yeah, and I love how Penny Marshall like directed these scenes, because it's not like a typical, like, you know, baseball or sport movie kind of scene, in the sense of like very detailed and like at the bottom of the ninth. It's nothing really like that. It's just kind of like little snippets of the game, and I appreciate that, because I'm not like a sports expert, but it's just like I get enough that I know what's going on, and like it makes sense to me, yes. Which I appreciate. It's the final pitch of the game, and Kit is up for bat, and it's like you had said, it's a full circle moment where I think the high balls or something. I can't remember the term, but like there's a particular way that the pitch is pitched that Kit has struggled with throughout the film. And that's the way that they're going to pitch it. So I almost feel like it's a test. It's like a test that Dottie's doing to Kit, to see if like, has she grown? Is she up for kind of this league type of thing? And yeah, you know, she hits it out of the park. And, you know, it's a very exciting kind of ending finale of the game. And Dottie ends up dropping the ball. And the Bells win. How did you take this last scene? And do you think she dropped it on purpose, or she really just dropped it? That's like the question.
I think she told Ellen to pitch the higher ones to win the game, not as a test for Kit. I think it was another ruthless move, because she is competitive. I think Dottie, I don't think she sacrificed for Kit in that moment. I do think she dropped it at the end. Well, I don't know. The way it's filmed is so ambiguous, to like, because Kit really rams into her. But I think we have seen earlier that Dottie, they showed a previous play where Dottie got rammed into and held onto it. So I think part of it is maybe letting it go, to maybe even subconsciously, like who knows? But yeah, I'm also really surprised the kid that, you know, the Peaches lost, because we're used to our sports movies and our underdogs, and here we go, and our team wins, and we won the day. And, you know, I grew up on like the Mighty Ducks and cool and like all that, but this is more like the Cool Runnings ending, where it's like, it's not that the team wins, it's just that, you know, you made it to the end point. It was more that. Yeah, but it's good for Kit. She goes off and be happy, and then we come back to our bookended moment of being in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think it's really sweet that, you know, they're going to cut the ribbon, and they ask the Ira to cut it instead, because he was the one who said, don't quit on these girls. There's something here, like, keep it going. I thought that was nice. And we see all the girls in their prime and walk around. And it's even funny, I think I didn't even hear it until this time, that someone says, who's that? Oh, that's Dottie. She only played for one season. So we know that she only played for a bit, but Kit went on to play on for a long time, and a lot of the other girls as well.
A character that we didn't get to speak of was Evelyn. She's the player who has the small child that she kind of brings along during the season. And the very kind of annoying kid, like, you're gonna live. And a moment that I really remember, though, from this scene that's very like tender and kind of sad is he's there now as an adult, and Dottie was like, where's mom? And he's like, mom passed. And it's a very kind of sweet moment, though, at the same time, that like he's there supporting his mom who's passed on. And I just wanted to mention that kind of scene, because we hadn't mentioned about Evelyn. I think it's a really fun scene to end the film, and I appreciate that a lot of the women in these scenes are the real life women who played in the league, which I think that's a cool special touch to the ending of this movie.
Yeah, you see that life has changed, as you sort of said. Some people got married, some people brought their kids. I love Kit rocks up with like a whole entourage. Like she's got like grandkids galore and everything. And yeah, it's nice to see. I like that when Dottie's being reintroduced to people. And it's like, it is that thing of when you haven't seen someone for so long, even if you saw them as like a kid, if I meet them as an adult now, you know, you sort of know the face, but not, because people grow and change. So like seeing people you haven't seen for a very, very long period of time, like it was very heartwarming. And Marla, when she does this, like Marla, like I really thought very, very sweet. And then they end on. I'm sorry, we didn't mention Evelyn. She's got. I can't see. She's the one that cries in baseball. And that scene is really funny as well, because obviously it's Jimmy yelling at her in a very Gordon Ramsay-esque way. Like that's just how like my coach yelled at me like this and it made me get better. It's like you can't talk to her like that. Like we just not brought up. We don't respond to that. And so you see the growth later on, even in the end game, it's like, well, can you do this better next time? And she does it in the final game. I like that you get to see those sorts of moments that aren't just our core characters, but you're seeing the effect on the whole team. But one of the biggest contributions she made is writing this song on the ukulele about the All-American Girls League. That song's so catchy. It's so cute. And just to end the film on that, plus Dottie and Kit hugging and reuniting and re-showing the ending game, I thought like what a beautiful little cherry on top.
I found like little moments of being tearful, but for whatever reason I get very emotional at this ending. And it's not like anything really like super significant happens in the sense of like, I don't know, there's not like this huge like catharsis kind of thing. It's just like, I think it's just the film is so kind of tender with its music and very like nostalgic, like warm, comfy vibes. It just, I don't know.
Warm fuzzies. It's the warm fuzzies.
It just overtakes you and you're just like, dang it, I'm crying. I feel like a big thing that we probably will need to talk about is Penny Marshall. Like she is a really big part of this movie because she directed it. But I feel like something that's really interesting is there's a lot of parallels with the movie and Penny Marshall. Like Penny Marshall was this trailblazer female director. She was the first female director to have a film that raised more than $100 million at the box office. You know, other accomplishments as well. But like, it's fun to see like the parallels of like these women being the trailblazers playing baseball in this league that's never existed before. And then same with kind of Penny Marshall in her real life.
I agree. Part of the start of the film is like from the team that brought you big, because it's Tom Hanks and Penny Marshall working together again. And that's probably was a big part of the selling point of the film, because I think if you say women's baseball film, it's even like trying to sell the women's baseball league back in the day. Like it's like, why, who's watching that? Like what's it for? It's a feel-good dramery one. So I think Tom Hanks is a really big draw. And then again, working with Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall's probably the first female director I'd ever really heard of and had made a big name for herself. This and Hocus Pocus, I'm like, what a couple years of influencing my life with Penny Marshall and Gary Marshall. And I was watching that the other day when I saw Gary Marshall in the film, I'm like, this gives me very Hocus Pocus. Like, I just love those like little spot moments. No, in all seriousness, yes, I think it is those parallels of a woman trying to make a mark in a predominantly male-dominated field, and to do sports as well, I think, which is, again, still even to this day, a more male-dominated practice. I think it's so ballsy to do this movie and to do it so well. And I think a lot of that heart, soul humor we've been talking about really comes through the way it's shot and just the way she's able to show this woman camaraderie on film. So, yeah, this is just such a big ups. And it's not something I think would be directed by a woman, being like a sports film. So I just love it even more that it really is. It should be, and it was. So that's great.
189 Charlie, take 1A mark.
Let's get into our favourite part of any movie, of anything we're seeing, is the costumes. The vintage look, I mean, it's set in the time period of the 40s. Women just had, I love the style of the time. I really do. I love the dresses, the length of the skirts. I think throughout the film, you get to see, as we sort of said, like you've got the roadhouse scene, and I like everyone in their looks. I love Marla's red dress. I love May's got like her little shorts on under her dress for when she's kicking and flipping and everything. They go to church a few times and they look good. I love when Madonna's in the prayer box and comes out and just gives like, she's got her little scarf and just gives like a little dirty wink to the kids. Like it's great. And being a small sports film, as we're sort of saying, I like that you're just seeing a lot of women in their normal, regular sports attire. You know, it's not until you're on the field that they really are in dresses and such. That during practice, they're all in their pants and whatnot.
I mean, I think the ones that we're wearing need to be highlighted. I mean, as much as they're not super practical, they are adorable, and I love the pink and the red, and yeah, it's such a cute look. Yeah, definitely. Again, Geena Davis is this movie for me. Like, everyone else is great, of course, but like she's just such a highlight for me. And yeah, I mean, we get introduced to her in those like high-waisted sailor-looking shorts with like the buttons. It's so cute.
Anytime she's got her hair up in like the ribbon and knots and stuff, that's great.
And then the scene where she is kind of gonna be leaving the team, at least for a moment, the Jimmy and her scene, like with like that kind of, it's like a gray, like brown, I think. It very much gave me The Notebook, kind of the way the look with the little hat. But yeah, I love that look. And I also love, there's a scene where she's wearing like a yellow dress with like a yellow hat. That one's very cute as well. But yeah, I'm with you as well. Like, I just love this time period. I think the dresses are very flattering to a lot of women. I just feel like the dresses like kind of are fit nice, and I just love this style. Yeah, the costumes are great. I really liked the montage kind of storytelling aspect, because there's a lot of montages in this movie, but I think it works really well. I love the music. I think very like tender. Yeah.
I totally forgot until I was watching the credits. I'm like, oh yes, this is like one of the Hans Zimmer vehicles of like the early 90s. So yeah, I think tender is a great word for it. Very tender moments, but then, as you sort of mentioned, when we have like more sporty montagey moments, it's more that big band reflecting what you would have been hearing in the time period.
One little factoid I wanted to mention, because I was like, I don't know how to like bring it up while we're talking about the magical moments, because it's not maybe really that magical. The nickname is Skeeter. She was one of the players. There's a scene where you see a very big bruise on her leg. Yeah. It's real. It was a real bruise that she got from filming the movie, and like I think they probably like highlighted it maybe a little bit more, but I'm just like, ow. Like, it's intense to see. So I thought that was
like
interesting.
All different colors and shades in the one. Like, that's not just a purple bruise. That's got like that yellowing in it and everything. Oh yeah, that looked hard.
The time has come for one and all to play ball.
A big one, and I mentioned it in the middle, is just again that women in sports. Very much we are still seeing that stigma to this day. I know in Australia we have this health promotion campaign called Girls Make Your Move, and it's showing women in sports, trying to get women more active, because our least active demographic is our teen girls. And I think a big part of that is like the look. And we still see that now with like Instagram and social media and stuff. Like, no one wants to look not dirty or not pretty or being active. So I want to keep seeing a push for girls to go out there. And Kit says when she's signing the baseball at the end, like, go out there, get dirty. Like, I want to see that. I love the Rosie O'Donnell moment where on the bus, and it's like, why are you with this guy? Well, you know, he treats me bad, so why not? But she says, all the boys used to make me feel different. I think that's really like a big part of the movie as well, is like these women are doing something different, and it's a place to find yourself. And I want to keep seeing women pursuing what they want to do outside of what a society might think is the normal or the pretty. Like, I want to keep seeing that more. We've just launched in Australia a few years ago. We've got like women's AFL. I see it in schools more. Like, I'm enjoying seeing more women's sports and having the opportunity to play sports, because there's still that big difference in inequality at the moment with that. I think so. This comes out in the 40s, and I think on the museum doesn't it say like from 40 to 50 something, so I don't know the history of it, if it only lasts that long or if it's been brought back or something. I don't know much about women's sports, so I think there's something there, something to keep going with, but that's why I'm always just so enjoyable for this movie. I love an underdog story. Yeah, A League of Their Own is just one of those really easy, great, fun, heartwarming watches, and I love it.
I love that it shows these women kind of breaking these barriers, and it's so important to see things like this on film because I think it very much influences all of us in different ways. And I think, if girls are seeing this in a film, like if you can see it, you can be it type of thing. And like, I think it's really important to like show these stories and continue to let women be in sports and be in movies and direct movies and all of these things. I think it's very inspirational. And I'll just say what I put in my Letterboxd review was, it's a home run in my heart, because it truly is. Thank you everyone for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe to tune into more. We newly are on Discord, so come join our community there. It's still growing. It's very new. Come on and join it. The link is in the description. We're all over. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, all those places. Come follow us. And most importantly, stay magical, everyone.